Thank you, Lorenzo and Stolen Thunder. Hola, buenos dias. Mi nombre es Linda. My name is Linda, and I serve gratefully on our worship arts team. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno. Welcome to everyone on our virtual church campus. Welcome to everyone on our Alluvial Avenue campus. Welcome to everyone watching the service later on Facebook or YouTube. We are one congregation in many places. Somos una congregación en muchos lugares. Our monthly worship theme for October is courage. And today, our dear friend and guest speaker, Haj Reza Nukamanesh, will speak to us about how his faith pathway gives him the courage to do the vital social justice work he's been involved with for so many, many years. I'll do a brief introduction before he speaks and tell you a little more. We acknowledge that our Alluvial Avenue campus sits within the traditional homelands of the Yokuts. We honor them as past, present, and future stewards of this land. As Unitarian Universalists, we welcome you no matter your race, cultural origin, age, spiritual background, or religious belief. We welcome you no matter your disabilities, the amount of money in your bank account, your level of education, or your neurodiversity. We welcome you if you are lesbian, gay, bi, trans, non-binary, or gender fluid. You are welcome with or without documentation. All are welcome here. Todos son bienvenidos aquí. If you're on our virtual campus, we want to make sure everyone can share in your joy, sorrow, or gratitude or concern. If you feel called to share this morning, please just type them now in the chat box and we'll write them down and someone will give them to me so we can share them later in the service. If you don't type your personal joy, concern, gratitude, or sorrow now in the chat box, we won't have time to include them later. Now, may we in the chat box or in person or in the silence of your heart take a moment to say buenos dias and greet one another.
There you go. It's good to get. That's exactly what this guy did to me. Broke my heart. Good morning, Hannah.
Hey, guys. I know, just as you get started, we make you sit back down again. Don't forget to stay for coffee hour so you get to visit a lot more. I invite all of our virtual campus attendees to gather a candle or chalice to light after our prelude. As we begin our service this morning on both our Alluvial Avenue campus and our virtual campus, let the sound of the tingsha open our hearts to all we might receive.
Five, six, 1, 2.
حتى نور الله فجرا جيت بعد العسر يسرا ربنا هلاك قدرا يا إمام الأنبياء جاهي أنت في الوجدان حي أنت للعينين ضاهي أنت عند الخير رهي أنت هار وصفي يا حبيب محمد يا حبيب سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك صلوات الله عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك صلوات الله عليك يا ورثي بالحب قلبي يا خير رسل ربي من به أبصرت دهري يا شفيعي يا رسول الله وخط فينا زرنا الحب علينا جئتنا بالخير دينا يا ختام المرسلين يا حبيبي يا همام يا نبي سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك صلوات الله عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك صلوات الله عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك صلوات الله عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك صلوات الله عليك
I'm Eliana Wise, and welcome into my home. As we prepare to light the chalice this morning, I invite all on our virtual campus to go get your own candle or chalice at home to light with me, as Linda Tolliday lights the chalice on our Alluvial Avenue campus. Our chalice lighting words this morning are from Gordon B. McKeeman. Let there be light. Let it shine in dark places, in moments of pain, in times of grief. In the darkness of hatred, violence, oppression, where there is discouragement and despair, wherever darkness is to be put to flight, let there be light.
I invite those present on our Alluvial Avenue campus to rise in body or spirit and join those in our virtual campus in singing Love Will Guide Us. If you're present on our Alluvial campus and are not vaccinated, perhaps sing in the sacredness of your own heart.
2, 3, 4.
Love will guide us through the hard night. you can give, no other can give to the future of our precious children, to the future of the poor live. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Please remain standing as we recite our church mission. La misión de la Iglesia Unitaria Universalista de Fresno es amar inclusivamente, crecer espiritualmente, servir con gratitud y trabajar por la justicia. The mission of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno is to love inclusively, grow spiritually, serve gratefully, and work for justice. Please be seated. Whether you're here on our Alluvial campus or attending in our virtual campus, I invite you to relax your shoulders. Feel the weight of your body pressing you into your chair. Hear the noise of the chalice popping. Breathe in and out, and in again, and out, and one last time in and out. When, in the past week, did your courage fail you so that you did not speak up when you should have or stand up when it would have been helpful? When, in the past week, did your courage help you face a challenge? As some of us entered the sanctuary this morning, we may have chosen to record a joy or sorrow on the small cards in the back. Those on our virtual campus were invited to share their joys or sorrows in the chat box, and here is some of what's on our heart today. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. 17 years ago this week, my niece Rhonda, Hatcher, Anaya, and 1 year ago, our church member Anna Richards each lost their lives in acts of domestic violence. May we never forget them, and may we love them forever. Thank you, Nancy, for helping us remember. Nancy also shares the national hotline, 1-800-799-7233. Paula shares a sorrow. Her dear friend Gretchen Miller suddenly passed away this week, and she's heartbroken. Thoughts are with you, Paula, and her family. We also have a joy to the person who wrote it. I haven't forgotten. I'm just sharing it a little later. As we think of all that's been shared here this morning and all that lies still in the sacredness of our hearts, we also hold in our thoughts those unable to be with us this morning because of poor health or compromised mobility, including Margaret H., Bev F., Denise S., Edith H., William H., Glenda R., Pat M., Josephine J. Let us expand the power of connectedness beyond these walls to those who have no one to remember them, to speak their names gently and with love. Through the light of our flame, the candle of community, may we and they be truly blessed. In addition, all of those who have been so drastically affected by COVID remain in our hearts. This pandemic has caused so much pain and yet so much clarity, illuminating the pieces of life that are most significant. And so, as is our tradition, we light a second candle for the over 1 million Americans who've died and the over 6.5 million citizens of the world lost to this pandemic. Today's call to meditation is Voice Still and Small, Pequeña Voz.
Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing in storm and rain, sorrow and pain, still we'll remain singing, calming my fears, quenching my tears through all the years, singing pequeña voz dentro del ser, oigo tu voz cantando en mi dolor, llanto y terror, siento tu amor cantando. Siempre darás calma y solas en mi pesar cantando.
We pause in the stillness to rest for a moment, to quiet ourselves so we can feel what stirs within. Each breath draws us closer to the pulse of life, and with each exhalation, we make room for something new. May we find in this gathering the comfort of those who care. May we encounter patience along our growing edges and compassion in our most tender spots. Here, may we find the inspiration and encouragement we need to face our challenges and to nurture ourselves. And in the presence of suffering across the globe, may we redouble our efforts to practice kindness where we are, with the hope that the light of our actions travels like the light of faraway stars. May our gestures of compassion and generosity seed possibility. May we travel humbly with one another, choosing reconciliation over resentment as we try to live right-sized. When life presses in and shifts us off balance, when pain assails us, when frustration mounts, may the rhythm of our breath steady us and bring us back to a place of gratitude. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Today's reading is adapted from the words of Carrie Kopnick. She's a religious educator with the Unitarian Universalist congregation. They're her experiences, not mine. But on a day we talk about courage, I thought her words and the courage she has to speak her truth to us about an area in which we Unitarian Universalists can be quite guilty of unconscious judgment might be words we need to hear. Carrie says, I pull another basket of steaming dishes out of the dishwasher in our church basement. My partner in kitchen cleanup grabs a clean dish towel to dab the pools of water from the upturned soup bowls. They ask, so what's your undergrad in? The conversations that happen in church kitchens are my absolute favorites. I have been washing dishes in church basements since I was 11. Church ministry fills my heart. But not this time, or this conversation. I know the look I'll get. I know they won't mean harm, but I can feel the shame creep from my heart to my face. I'm staff here. They pay me a chunk from their operating budget to direct the ministry to and with their children and teens. Surely I have a degree, preferably a master's degree, likely even a professional license of some sort. Actually, I don't. I didn't finish my undergrad. I turned to load the next round of soup bowls, and while I want to say I was close to a degree in child psych, if I move back to that state, I'll finish up. But I just spray the bowls with the restaurant-style sprayer. Bits of barley and carrots fly everywhere. The conversation stops. My eyes don't linger to see the raised eyebrows, the quick flash of judgment. It's not that I didn't want to finish school. I just came from a working-class family where college visits and choosing the right school were a foreign world. My high school teachers didn't see anything special in me. My brain functions more like a modern dance number done in the woods, upside down, than a neat and tidy ballet performance of Swan Lake. So I tumbled out of high school and headed where my friends went, a big public research institution that was all about third position with absolutely no woods. It's not surprising I left early, feeling stupid. I worked in what could have been the Ms. Magazine top 10 low-wage jobs for women until my Unitarian Universalist congregation needed a religious educator and I applied. We were wildly successful, doubling the number of registered children and then doubling again. We won an award for growth and innovation and finally had to buy a church building to house our booming congregation. I served on district and continental boards for my professional association, and my blog was often featured in the denominational magazine. but I never applied to be formally credentialed. How could I? I would have had to face the credentialing committee without any letters after my name. My faith says all are welcome. My faith says we're all whole and good and holy. I myself have said this to dozens of children and teens, and yet we have miles to go to make this so. Carrie's words really struck me. Perhaps because while I've never even questioned going to college and getting advanced degrees and certification, my children are choosing, with some sadness and a feeling they are failing me, other paths. Maybe I'm the only one who needs to remember the courage it takes to do things differently, but I expect I'm not. I expect I'm not the only one here struggling to remember we're all different, and there is deep courage in following a pathway different than the one most of us took. May I, continue to work toward finding honor in those pathways and refrain from judgment. So I'm going to ask you to rise in a moment for my very favorite hymn. It's also part of the inspiration behind my Phoenix tattoo, which I got less than a year ago as a very old person to be getting new ink. Please stand as you are willing and able and join with us in singing the absolutely fabulous We Rise.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Ourselves here in hope and prayer. We right here, we rise. All of the children rise. Elders of wisdom rise. Ancestors surround us, rise. In hope and prayer, we find ourselves here.
Please be seated. Woo. When we were recruiting for a minister, when we were in search for a minister, one of the things we told Reverend Tim, who came from near Boston, where you can't swing a cat without hitting several Unitarian Universalist congregations, we warned him that it wasn't like that here. That his spiritual community would probably come more in the interfaith partnerships he found than it would in being with other Unitarian Universalist ministers. And I have to say, our guest speaker today is one of the epitomes of that finding of spiritual community that Tim has found in the interfaith work that happens here in this lovely community of ours. Rez has been living here for 25 years and involved in the kind of social justice work he does for maybe 20 of those years, if not more. He's the executive director of the Islamic Cultural Center and has served in that capacity forever. He just told me today, this is news I didn't know, that a couple of months ago he was named the National Director of Clergy Organizing with Faith in Action. That our Faith in the Valley is the local affiliate for Faith in Action. This is really exciting news. They couldn't have chosen someone better for the job. Reza works with Reverend Tim and many others in doing such work as being on the clergy council, serving on the mayor's cabinet, being very involved in Faith in the Valley, and I couldn't be more thrilled to welcome him back to speak to us again.
All right, what's up, UU family? A great Muslim American theologian, somebody that's not often regarded as a theologian, a revolutionary, an activist, Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz, Brother Malcolm X, said that a man who stands for nothing will fall for anything. As we stand on the land of the Yokuts people and acknowledge the labor of so many who built up our area, I want to thank you all for allowing me to be in your space. First of all, Reverend Tim for taking the day off so I could be here. I know you all miss him, and maybe as I keep speaking, you're going to miss him more. I have a lot of love for the Honorable Reverend Tim Kutzmark. Linda, you guys already see, you guys know she's organized. But she is really good at making sure other people know what they need to know, because for months she's been contacting me and saying, all right, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? What are we going to do? So thank you, Linda. And to the entire Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno, first of all, I feel like I'm not a stranger here. I know so many of you. I love to meet the rest who I have not been blessed and honored to meet, including those at home watching us. But just thank you for allowing me into your space, into your sacred space, into your holy space, into your sacred time to share with you. I come to you all from my own faith perspective. I'm Muslim, just in case you didn't know. Knowing that this is my path and it's not the path of all of us in this room. So I ask you, and I welcome your generosity, your grace, and your curiosity. I begin in my own tradition. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ahli bayti at-tayyibin at-tahirin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In the name of God, in the name of all that you call upon, in the name of Kami-sama, of Dios, of Khoda, of Patron, how you call on God, I call upon this God to be with us. All praise is due to this God, the Lord and Creator of Sustainer of this world, and may all the peace, blessings, esteem, and salutations be upon all of his prophets and messengers, including Prophet Muhammad and his progeny. May the peace, blessings, and mercy of God be upon all of you. God tells us in the Holy Quran, chapter 4, verse 135, O you who believe, stand up firmly to establish justice. Witnesses for God, even if it's against your own selves or your family, whether one is rich or poor, for God is more worthy of both. Today, we're going to be thinking together about courage, about moral courage, courage to face challenges, courage to rise up, as we were just so uplifted by Hannah and let's just call them the backup band for that. Sorry, Lawrence. The courage to stand up, the courage to rise, the courage to speak, the courage to challenge, to go basically to go toe-to-toe with all of the sicknesses and evils that permeate the society around us. I think about my faith, my call to stand. I'm commanded and set forth by my Creator to be empowered and decorated with bravery so that I can do the real work of trying to put everything into its proper order, the true definition of justice. In my tradition, in the Islamic theology, there's basically an idea that God created the heavens and the earth, and then He created us, and then He required all of us, you and me, to do two basic things according to my theology. Number one is justice, and the number two is justice. For us, the first justice is that God created us, so we need to be just with that relationship. And number two, that He's not the only thing He created. He created other humans and animals and rocks and plants and rivers and trees and mountains, and we have to be just with the rest of creation. We have to honor these relationships and understand them. A Muslim saint from 1400 years ago, Imam Ali, said that justice is life and its absence is the death of society. And indeed, I guess I should have asked for that water, but I'm just joking. Indeed, throughout the entire Quran, our holy book, it's riddled with verses commanding us to stand up for justice, to establish justice. The words for justice in Arabic, adl and qist, they're found throughout the Quran. And every single time, they're commandments for us as creations, as just one of the creations. When the Quran commands us to do justice, when it commands us to establish justice, when it commands us to stand against injustice, it's probably that justice is the most central theme in the Quran. Justice is probably the most central theme in the life of the Prophet Muhammad. Peace and blessings be upon him. And thank you, Lorenzo, for your rendition of this recitation, which, by the way, if you didn't know, he was singing peace and blessings upon the Prophet. So thank you for that. And it's probably the most central theme in my faith, period. One of the famous sayings of Prophet Muhammad, he said that if you see an injustice in the land, if you see a wrong in the land, then you have to stop it with your hands. And if you can't stop it with your hands, you have to speak out against it with your tongue. And if you can't speak out against it with your tongue, then he says to hate it in your heart. And then he tells people, but that's the lowest level of faith. I'm trying not to live in the lowest level of faith. I'm trying to excel and move up and live according to that teaching of stopping injustice with my hands and my voice, like I get to do so many times, arm in arm with Reverend Tim Kutzmark and so many others. I know also that Islam does not hold a monopoly on calling its adherents to justice. I'm not going to quote any UU scholars because I think everything they say is about justice, right? But we look at Judaism. In the wonderful tradition of Judaism, we see the famous, most oft-quoted verse that says, "Let justice well up like water and righteousness like an unfailing stream." God bless you. Thank you so much. That's in Amos 5 and 15 and 24. In the Sikh tradition, our Sikh brothers and sisters are told to be saint soldiers. People that are good, who honor their relationships and their family, and are willing to fight against any and every form of injustice. In Buddhism, we have so many traditions. One is a beautiful saying that said, we've placed our entire faith in truth and justice. In Christianity, in Mark 11 and 17, we know about Jesus when he decides and when he says that the temples have been turned into a den of thieves. And what does he do? He doesn't go, he flips tables. He goes to the tax collectors and he flips their tables to call out their injustice. And there are so many other examples in wonderful world traditions that exist. But for today, what is one of the main characteristics that we all must nurture to be able to stand up, to be able to rise up as they sung to us? What is that one characteristic that we all need to do that work? Courage. One has to build, sustain, and maintain some sense of courage. Because it takes courage and a courageous spirit just to live in society as we do. According to Islamic theology also, courage is something that is within every human being, and we believe that there's nothing that you are asked to do, called to do, or commanded to do that is more than you can bear. The Quran in chapter 2, 286 says that God does not charge a soul except within its own capacity. God doesn't hold over you over something that you can't bear. So whether that's need to be courageous in our personal lives or out in society, it's not more than we can do. It's something we tell our young people, right? It's something we tell our children. It's something we talk about and think about. And it's something that we need to work on and build every single day. And we need courage just to live our lives. Forget how hard it is to go to school any other day or any other year or any other era. But now it takes courage to go to school, and it takes courage to let your kids be at a school where they may become victims of bullying, violence, gun violence, and all the other evils that permeate in schools. It takes courage to seek medical treatment when you're ill. It takes courage to say, I have the strength to do that, and I'll make it out the other side. It takes courage to have hard conversations with our family and friends when they might hold a position that is detrimental to the very intrinsic humanity of every one of us. If we have a family member or a friend that hates somebody because of something that they can't control, then it's hard. It takes courage to have that conversation with them. You guys, it's coming up on Thanksgiving. You're going to have a lot of those conversations. It takes courage to go to work. Not just because it's hard, not just because you have to compromise. It takes courage to go out into the world to struggle to make a living for your family when there are so many things working against you. It takes courage to raise kids, doesn't it? It takes courage to send them out into the world. I have 2 adult sons. It takes courage to care for an ill or an aging member of our family or friends. It's hard. It takes courage to deal with their passing and their transition. And on a societal scale, we need to muster that same courage to call out injustice. And I know that I'm not teaching anything to the members of this church, for you guys have stood for so many fights in our city. You guys may have heard of the Arabic word jihad. You guys heard the word jihad? Most likely you heard it for all the wrong reasons. All right? But the word jihad is a beautiful word. It's an amazing word. It's a powerful word. One of my good friends is named Jihad, a beautiful name. The word jihad means to struggle or to strive against your own desires, against whatever might keep you from doing good. And in the Islamic theology, jihad is to struggle for God, i.e. to stand up for justice, i.e. to stand up against oppression and tyranny. Excuse me. One day, the Prophet Muhammad was asked, what was the most greatest, the most honorable, the most noble of struggles, of jihad? And he said the most noble or the greatest jihad is a just word to an unjust king. In this nation, and particularly, this might be our greatest task, to be uncomfortable but empowered by courage to scream for justice against systems, powers, institutions, politicians, and leaders who work to oppress our people. We live in times and a place of great tribulation, and you all know that. We live in a country, particularly, and a city that is littered with and poisoned by evils and injustices in so many flavors and expressions. White supremacy runs rampant in our streets. In these days leading up to the midterm, slavery is on the ballot in some states. The year 2022, they're still thinking whether or not they should outlaw slavery. White supremacy runs wild in all of its manifestations. Anti-black racism, xenophobia, and hating folks that might be different than us. The mega politicians around the country anti-Semitism, homophobia, Islamophobia, and so many other wicked expressions of that same evil. They exist, and we live in this world. It takes courage just to exist. And indeed, courage is displayed precisely when we rise up against what's comfortable, the prevailing view in our society, and lean into uncomfortability for the sake of all of our sisters and brothers in creation. I pray that each of us, myself first, I don't guide or direct anybody before myself, and all of us, be imbued with unwavering, powerful, bold courage. I pray because I believe that prayer or calling upon God is one of the most powerful and sure weapons that any one of us has in this fight against injustice. I believe that the tears of those who struggle are weapons. I believe that the cries and the screams and the words are weapons that we shove into the heart of oppression and systems of injustice to call them to do what is right. Because I pray for all of us courage to speak truth to power, courage to establish justice, courage to call out injustice. I again remind you, after I remind myself of the beautiful words of that great theologian, Al-Hajj Malik el-Shabazz, Brother Malcolm, who said, "A man who stands for nothing will fall for anything." Are you willing to fall for something? Are you willing to fall for the okie-doke? Are you willing to fall for what they feed you as some reality that's not? It's not a reality that white supremacy has to exist. That's our reality. But we don't have to fall for it. We have the power and the courage, each and every one of us, to stand up and fight and move and have those conversations and do jihad in our families, in our society, and anywhere else that is required of us to stand up and to do what's right. Fresno, Church of Fresno, thank you for letting me be here. I honor all of you, and again, thank you for letting me into your space.
What? T-B.
His wisdom flowed from heaven's book, just like threaded pearls, just like threaded pearls. He left himself to flee to God, and God sent him back to us. He was born to be the beloved, a will of the divine. He was born to be the beloved. He was born
This month, our theme is courage. And I want to acknowledge that for some of us, it took a great deal of courage to walk through those doors, or maybe the doors back over on Millbrook if you've been in the congregation for a while. Some of us come here wounded by experiences from organized religions that we belonged to in the past. Some of us are unchurched, and this is a very foreign place to be inside a sanctuary on a Sunday morning. So I acknowledge for all of you that it took courage to walk through the door. Thank you for your courage. Some of us, probably everybody who's here, and maybe a lot of you there at home, that courage led us to a place that is our home. It gave us the courage to join the church, to belong, to become regular members, to show up on lots of Sundays, to serve on committees, to organize and be a place, to be a part of this place. Most of us also make regular financial contributions through our pledges, but we ask every week that you consider finding the courage to connect even a little bit more each week by placing an offering in the basket as you leave if you're here in the sanctuary, or in many of the online ways that you can connect that'll come on in a minute. Take a moment each week, show that courage as well. In this spirit, please join me in our words of offering. If not us, then who? If not open hearts, then what? If not now, then when? If not here, then where? If not generously, then how? If not us, then who? Here's a slide showing how you can make a financial contribution right now, or again, if you're on our Alluvial Avenue campus, you can always drop cash or check into the baskets on your way out of the sanctuary. Thank you in advance for saying yes. May this church continue to be worthy of the many forms of your gifts. May those gifts allow us to continue to bring these Sunday services here and into your home each week.
Lovely to share this morning with you all. Our chalice extinguishing words are: Extinguimos esta llama, pero no la luz de la verdad, el calor de comunidad, o el fuego de nuestro compromiso. Estos los llevaremos en el corazón. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts.
We have a few announcements this morning. Please do stay after service for coffee and conversation. Reza and I will be outside of the sanctuary door for a receiving line and look forward to greeting you. I want to take a minute and introduce Patty Bennett, our coordinator of congregational life, who is here to help any of you, newly visiting or longtime members, find ways to connect. She's also going to give a tour today, so come find her after the sanctuary. But before we go on with the other announcements, it's Patty's birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Patty. Happy birthday to you.
Okay, a few more announcements. I don't have a slide for this one, but our friends at the Islamic Cultural Center are having their annual bazaar on Saturday, November 5th. Pick up a flyer. I was looking at the flyers. There's flyers out on the table. They're having camels. You can go on a camp. I'm really excited. The flyers are out by the door, so as you're heading out, you can grab a flyer. Okay? Also, our own church carnival is the next day, so you can have a carnival-filled weekend. You can carnival at the Islamic Cultural Center on Saturday, come to the crafts fair on Sunday. It'll be a weekend of fun. Also, we have a visitor table outside, so where our board president, Adeline Marchini, will be there to welcome newcomers, answer any questions you might have. She knows everything you could ever want to know about being part of this congregation and Unitarian Universalism in general. Next up, vote. I really am preaching to the choir about voting, I think. If you haven't voted, we have a drop box, a hard-won, hard-fought, thank you ACLU, drop box here at the sanctuary where you can drop off your ballots. And I'm not going to speak too much on the ballot because we have to watch that separation, but we can talk about things that are part of our faith tradition. There is a proposition on the ballot that would make reproductive choice freedom for women part of our Constitution in the state of California. That is a tenet of our faith. Thank God and all the holy creatures. Unitarian Universalists stand for a woman's right to choose. It's on the ballot. Vote. Vote for the rest of the stuff too, but vote. Okay, next week. It is our very special Dia de los Muertos service on our Alluvial Avenue campus. Our special guest musicians will be the return of Mariachi Universal. They're wonderful. You're not going to want to miss it. We will be creating our ofrenda, our altar. Please bring pictures, momentum, a favorite food or drink of loved ones that have passed into the mysteries of death. If you're attending on our virtual campus, please bring pictures and mementos with you as well. Invite a friend to join us. This service is really different and special. Please invite a friend to celebrate the lives and legacies of those who have left an imprint on our lives. Okay, as we prepare to end our service and return to the outside world, we have a tradition here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno. We like to acknowledge those who are with us for the first, second, or third time. We are happy and honored that of all the places you could have been today, you chose to be here. So those of you that are here virtually, please give a shout out in the chat. And if you're here for the first, second, or third time in the sanctuary, please stand so we can see who you are. I promise we won't leave you standing for long. Do we have visitors? Welcome, 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 welcome. And now will the rest of you on our Alluvial Avenue campus please rise to join them? Please place your hands over your precious heart for our closing words and sung benediction. Today's closing words come to us from the Reverend Dr. Kendall L.R. Gibbons. There is, finally, only one thing required of us. That is to take life whole, the sunlight and shadows together, to live the life that is given us with courage and humor and truth. We have such a little moment out of the vastness of time for all our wondering and loving. Therefore, let there be no half-heartedness. Rather, let the soul be ardent in its pain, its yearning, in its praise. Then shall peace enfold our days, and glory shall not fade from our lives. May it be so.
Go from here in peace, go with love. Go from here in peace, go with love. Go from here in peace, go with love. In love, go
Shalom and assalamu alaikum. 2, 3, 4.